When Apple initially sent me a pair of HomePod 2s to review, I made a video talking about how they work as Dolby Atmos speakers for your television when paired with an Apple TV. But what's my experience been with them since that video? In the meantime, Apple re-released their new home architecture and with that, sound detection functionality for HomePod Mini and HomePod 2. My name's Eric Welander, welcome back to my channel. Apple lent me these HomePod 2s for review. I don't get to keep them and no money changed hands. This video does have a sponsor though, and that's Shortform. More on them in a minute. I think the sound from a pair of HomePods for TV audio is impressive for the price, but I prefer the more cinematic feel of my Sonos soundbar, subwoofer, and rear speakers. Well, I bought this setup gradually over time. It's much more expensive than two HomePods. So with that change, I wanted to try HomePod 2 as a single speaker. I put one in the living room and one in my bedroom. The living room HomePod 2 serves in a choir of multi-room Apple and Sonos speakers playing music around our downstairs on a daily basis. I'm really impressed at the ability of a small, even at the HomePod 2 size, speaker like this to fill a room. More on the sound performance of that in a minute. When Apple announced the HomePod 2, they also unveiled temperature and humidity sensors, not only in the HomePod 2, but hidden all this time in your HomePod minis. More on the performance of those in a minute, but first, thanks to Shortform for sponsoring this video. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but there's nothing more annoying than picking up a book you just got and realizing it's not what you wanted, or worse, that it's just expanding fluff on some ideas that could be captured in a summary. This is where I find Shortform super helpful. For the cost of about one book a month, they provide thousands of summaries in a wide variety of categories where they explore the key ideas of the book. This can be a great way to get the life-changing ideas out of a book without needing to spend the time reading it all, or to realize you've found the book that you really love and want to spend time reading through. You can also listen to the book summaries. I use this while commuting to some meetings for work to figure out which books I wanted to read on my vacation. I just finished Bob Iger's Ride of a Lifetime, and the Shortform summary does a great job talking about the stories Iger tells in the book, and I knew it would be just what I wanted. On the other hand, The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis sounded like a topic I wouldn't find as interesting as I initially thought based on the cover. Shortform also includes articles tying together information from different books, exploring interesting ideas like geothermal energy. To try Shortform for yourself, visit the link in the description at shortform.com/Welander to get a free trial and 20% off an annual membership. Thanks so much to Shortform and you guys for supporting this channel. Personally, I find the new HomePod sensors as a handy additional data point for the temperature around my home. I have a HomePod Mini in almost every room, and it's great to survey the warm and cool spots in our home at any given time. But the temperature automation with HomePod sensors or even other temperature sensors has not been reliable in my experience. I tried automating the fan in my living room to turn on if the temperature gets above 73 degrees and to turn off when the temperature drops below 70. I also tried using an Eve Room to turn on my space heater in my office when the temperature drops below 65, and then turn it off when the temperature rises above 69. All of this if the lights are on in my office, which means I'm likely in here. The HomePod 2 really shines as Apple's best smart speaker yet though. It hears me just as well as the original HomePod and sounds just as good, but it comes with a faster processor and is noticeably quicker to process requests. Apple also changed smart home commands to respond with a pleasant tone instead of spending a whole sentence telling you what just happened. This continues to be a welcome change in my book. I also still find the larger display on the top of the HomePod 2 easier to see from a distance, that you've triggered Siri and it's listening, but I wish they would change the design so you could see that while looking parallel or up at the device. My oldest toddler has started talking to the HomePod for animal sounds, and he is not tall enough to see the top in many cases.
A Siberian tiger sounds like this.
Apple also added sound detection for smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. This is now available on HomePod 2 and HomePod Mini with the latest software updates installed, and you can use your nearby HomeKit cameras to check in on the situation. If you check in, the HomePods will announce you're looking in, so people in the house know you're checking it out.
A home member is checking in. Double tap the top of this HomePod at any time to hang up.
So one of the things I've noticed is that in testing the smoke alarm in our upstairs hallway, the HomePod that recognizes that sound is actually the full-size HomePod down here in the living room, even though there are a number of HomePod minis and a full-size HomePod upstairs closer to the smoke alarm. I think that the sound just travels better down the hallway, down the stairs, than it does into those individual bedrooms. You might have a similar experience if you have a smoke alarm in a hallway or some other place where the sound might carry into a different part of your house. The challenge here though is that I've had issues being able to use my HomeKit Secure video camera in my upstairs hallway right by that smoke alarm to check in on it. I don't think Apple is using the microphones on HomeKit Secure video cameras to determine which camera is closest to the alarm. They're just basing it off of the room where the HomePod is that recognized the sound initially. But at the same time, I tried moving my HomeKit Secure video camera to this room, the living room, in the Home app, and that still did not solve the problem. So in my experience so far, every time I end up checking in on my home for a smoke alarm, which I intentionally do for testing, it just does the audio. It doesn't give me the video. Hopefully this is just a weird thing about my testing of it or a bug that Apple will fix over time. Either way, I think it's a great addition to have this feature in HomePod 2 and HomePod Mini. Right now, the detection is limited to smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, so it's not nearly as extensive as the sound recognition feature Apple added to iPhone with iOS 16. I would love to see Apple add breaking glass as a sound detected when no one is home. Regardless, using smart smoke alarms like the Nest Protects that I have is just as expensive as a HomePod Mini, but with way less features. Adding this feature to HomePods helps you get the peace of mind that you'll find out about smoke alarms well away from home. When I first got HomePod 2, it was still the best sounding smart speaker I had ever heard. Then Sonos introduced the Era 100 and Era 300. It's important for you to know that Sonos has sponsored other content on this channel, but my 100% non-sponsored opinion is that the Era 100 and Era 300 show a new level of innovation in smart speaker design. HomePod 2 and Sonos Era speakers all still sound amazing, but the Sonos speakers bring out details in a way I don't hear in the HomePod. And I think this is in part due to the speakers being engineered with new form factors and built to deliver sound in a specific direction. The HomePod design with the tweeters all around sounds like an interesting idea on paper, but it's not as practical in most cases in my experience. Well, Apple re-engineered the internals of HomePod 2 compared to the first version. It's still the same design concept and looks nearly identical from a distance. While HomePod 2 is an amazing speaker, it's also currently 3 times the price of its smaller sibling, the HomePod Mini. Is the HomePod 2 3 times better than the HomePod Mini? Well, I don't think so in most cases. The HomePod Mini continues to be one of the best deals in Apple's entire product lineup at just $99. You get almost all the key features of HomePod 2 with HomePod Mini, except the additional speaker and microphone performance, a removable power cable, a faster processor, and Dolby Atmos support. Going between HomePod Minis and HomePod 2s in my home, I don't notice a difference in the speed between the S7 processor in the HomePod 2 and the slightly older S5 processor in the HomePod Mini. You can also get the HomePod Mini in a wide variety of different colors to help match your decor. Well, the HomePod 2 is just available in midnight and white. You can even still connect a stereo pair of HomePod Minis as speakers on a TV with Apple TV like I set up in my office. This won't have Dolby Atmos, but it sounds surprisingly good in small rooms for the $200 cost, or even at $350 if you account for a new Apple TV for the setup. Sure, it's no $500 soundbar, but it's close and for a lot less money, and it's a huge upgrade from built-in TV speakers. In this economy, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple raises the price of HomePod Mini soon, in which case we'll probably have to revisit this calculus. The HomePod Mini and Apple TV are essential building blocks for an Apple smart home. If you're looking for a bigger HomePod Mini with more sound, the HomePod 2 is a great option if you have the money. But in many cases, combining other speakers like those from Sonos with HomePod Minis will give you more features. The first video I posted about the HomePod HomePod 2 was about how excited I was for the product. Well, I'm not buying one myself in the near future. It's important to see Apple get back into making bigger speakers and show that smart home tech is still a priority for the company. Apple has a lot of talented designers and engineers, and I hope they announce more smart home hub hardware soon, ideally with a built-in screen. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.